The rain poured relentlessly over Tokyo, its neon lights reflecting off the slick streets like a kaleidoscope of colors. Hiroshi Takahashi stood by the floor-to-ceiling window of his penthouse office, his sharp suit and polished shoes a stark contrast to the chaos outside. He sipped his whiskey, the amber liquid swirling in his glass as he gazed at the city below. To the world, Hiroshi was a titan, a self-made billionaire who had built an empire from nothing. But tonight, for the first time in years, he felt a gnawing emptiness he couldn't ignore. His eyes drifted to the desk where a stack of contracts and financial reports lay untouched. Beside them was a small, handwritten note from his personal secretary, Aiko Nakamura. Her elegant script stood out against the cold, impersonal documents. Hiroshi picked it up, rereading the words he had already memorized. Mr. Takahashi, I've rescheduled your meeting with the Osaka investors to tomorrow at 10 a.m. Please don't forget to eat dinner. Aiko. It was a simple note, nothing extraordinary, but it was the care behind her words that struck him. Aiko was different. She wasn't like the others who flattered him for his wealth or sought his favor for their own gain. She was quiet, composed, and unimpressed by his status, and that intrigued him.
Hiroshi had first noticed Aiko 6 months ago when she joined his company as a junior secretary. She wasn't the most glamorous woman in the office, but there was something about her, a quiet strength, a grace that drew him in. He had tried to win her over with gifts, a designer handbag, a diamond necklace, even the keys to a luxury apartment. But Aiko had politely declined each one, her smile never reaching her eyes. Frustrated but determined, Hiroshi had promoted her to his personal secretary, giving her access to his world of power and luxury. He thought that by bringing her closer, he could break down her walls. But Aiko remained distant, her professionalism unwavering. One evening, after a particularly grueling day, Hiroshi invited Aiko to dinner at an exclusive restaurant overlooking the city. The place was a symbol of his success, with its Michelin-starred chef and panoramic views of Tokyo. He had reserved the best table, hoping to impress her. As they sat by the window, the city lights casting a soft glow on Aiko's face, Hiroshi finally asked the question that had been burning in his mind. "Aiko, what do you want? Name it, and it's yours." Aiko looked at him, her expression calm but resolute. "Mr. Takahashi, you think money can buy everything, but some things aren't for sale. My heart isn't something you can purchase with a credit card or a fancy title." Her words hit him like a thunderclap. For the first time in his life, Hiroshi felt powerless. He had always believed that money could solve any problem, but Aiko's honesty forced him to confront the emptiness he had been trying to ignore. Over the next few weeks, Hiroshi began to see Aiko in a new light. He noticed the way she cared for her colleagues, the way her eyes lit up when she talked about her family, and the way she found joy in the simple things, like the cherry blossoms blooming in the park or the smell of fresh coffee in the morning. Slowly, he started to change. One day, instead of taking Aiko to another high-end restaurant, Hiroshi surprised her by driving to a small, family-owned ramen shop in a quiet neighborhood. The place was modest, with worn wooden tables and the comforting aroma of broth simmering on the stove. As they ate, Hiroshi found himself opening up to Aiko in a way he never had with anyone else. He told her about his humble beginnings, the sacrifices he had made to build his empire, and the loneliness that came with his success. Aiko listened intently, her eyes softening as she saw a different side of Hiroshi. She realized that beneath his cold exterior was a man who had lost touch with his humanity. For the first time, she felt a connection with him, not because of his wealth, but because of his vulnerability. The rain had stopped by the time they left the ramen shop. The streets were quiet, the city bathed in the soft glow of streetlights. Hiroshi walked Aiko to her car, his hands stuffed in his pockets as he struggled to find the right words. "Aiko," he began, his voice uncharacteristically hesitant, "I know I've made a lot of mistakes. I thought money could buy happiness, but you've shown me that I was wrong. I don't want to be that person anymore. Aiko turned to him, her expression gentle but firm. Mr. Takahashi, it's not about the money. It's about who you are. If you want to change, you have to start by being honest with yourself and with others. Hiroshi nodded, the weight of her words settling over him. For the first time in years, he felt a glimmer of hope. In the weeks that followed, Hiroshi began to rebuild his life. He started treating his employees with respect, listening to their ideas and valuing their contributions. He reconnected with old friends and even reached out to his estranged family. And through it all, Aiko was by his side, not as his secretary, but as his friend. One evening, as they stood on the rooftop of his office building, watching the sun set over Tokyo, Hiroshi turned to Aiko. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for showing me what really matters." Aiko smiled, her eyes reflecting the warmth of the setting sun. "You did that yourself, Hiroshi. I just gave you a little push." As they stood there, the city humming with life below them, Hiroshi realized that true wealth wasn't measured in dollars or possessions. It was in the connections he formed, the lives he touched, and the love he allowed himself to feel. And for the first time in his life, Hiroshi Takahashi felt truly rich.